Hey guys, Ethan here, certified financial planner, your financial advocate, and I'm excited to be back with another whiteboard lesson for your benefit. Today's lesson is going to be a little bit longer than my previous videos, I believe, because this is going to be the actual system or an example of a system that you can put into place that's going to help you build up your financial independence. Now, I truly believe to my core that you need a system in place that is one, clear, two, simple, and three, automated. Having a clear, simple, and automated financial plan or money management system is going to give you the best odds at achieving your financial goals. Now, when it comes to having a clear, simple, and automated money management system, there are going to be a few factors that you need to have. So to have a good system in place, you're going to need three things. You're going to need people. Imagine people in this situation being like your tax person, maybe a bookkeeper. I'm going to call him BK. Maybe it's your legal advisor. Maybe it's your insurance agent. Maybe it is your lender. Maybe it is your investment advisor. There are a ton of different roles that people and specifically financial professionals play in their clients' lives. And most likely, if you want a really well-defined system, it's going to come with a team of people that are there to support your highest priorities and are working within their lane of genius, within their skill set. Because the reality is, as an investor, you're not going to be, and I'm not going to be, no one here is going to be the best, most knowledgeable person in tax, in bookkeeping, in legal, in insurance, in lending, in investing. You just cannot be an expert in all of these vast disciplines. So you're going to need to fill the gaps, ideally with professionals who have your best interests at heart. We call them fiduciaries. And that you really enjoy being around, because if you don't have a teacher or you're not learning or working with someone that you actually like, that you actually want to be around, what's going to happen is that your financial health suffers. I mean, if you've ever been in a class before where you didn't like your teacher versus a class where you liked your teacher, which one did you perform better in? Typically, people do a lot better when they like the person that they are learning from, that they are working with. And that's why it's so important to work on hiring and figuring out your people. Now, in this course I have for you guys, there is a worksheet in here to help you find and kind of organize the people in your financial world that are going to help support you. So use that worksheet to help you hunt out and seek out the help that you may need, and also just to keep yourself organized to figure out who you spoke to, keep notes, keep their contact information, etc. Now, the next thing you're going to need is software. This is to make it simple. Now, software could be something like QuickBooks to help you with your bookkeeping. It could be, let's say, Stripe to help you with payment processing. It could be, for us, we use a financial planning software called Right Capital, so we can get really clear on, one, what our clients have in their financial world, two, where they're going, and actually running really good hypotheticals and projections that take into consideration rate of return, taxes, inflation, all the various variables that makes doing the math on, a piece of paper very difficult. We have a financial planning software to help assist that, right? There are a lot of different tools and technologies that you can put into your life, into your business world, into your personal world, that's going to lean into this idea of having a system in place. So first, we need people to help support the system. Next, we need software to help run the system. And last but not least, we need like a process. And that's where I'm going to be spending our time today, is understanding what does it mean to have a process when it comes to managing your money. And specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the back half of wealth building. The process can include how you make money, how you run your business, and then once you make that money, what you do with it. To keep it very, specific for today, we're not going to be discussing the process on making money. We're going to be discussing the process on how to keep, grow, and protect the money that you've already made. So it is the back half of wealth building. Imagine that money comes into your checking account, into your bank account. It gets paid to you in cash, let's say. So you receive it, and we're going to take it from there. Now, there's a whole bunch of steps before this, whether you're a business owner or whether you are a W-2 employee working for somebody else. There's going to be a whole different ways you can receive money, right? For example, you could have 1099 income, you could have W-2 income, you could have income coming in from AK1. There's all these different ways to receive money, but we want to think about once you receive the money, what is your system on how you allocate it, how you process it, how you make decisions around it? And what I want to encourage you to do today is to spend time thinking about these decisions and the process that you're going to walk yourself through up front, so you don't have to go back and remake financial or money decisions every single time you get paid. You don't want to be sitting down every single month or every other week and saying, how am I going to allocate my additional extra income this month? You should have a clear understanding of how much you should have left over, and you should have steps and systems already established that says, you know what, this is where XYZ money is going, automatically reoccurring, so you don't have to spend any more time and energy thinking about it, and you can pour that time and energy back into your business, increasing your income, spending time with your family, pursuing hobbies, pursuing passions, and doing things that truly light you up, so you don't have to spend time and energy focusing on what to do with your money because you spent the time and energy up front. So let's think of it in a couple different categories. Let's call it cash management. So this is going to be category 1. Let's call it wealth management. This will be category number 2. And let's call it risk management. And this will be category number 3. Now, each of these categories is going to fill a different component and different kind of area or aspect of your life. And you can structure this in an unlimited amount of ways. I'm not saying one way is right or one way is wrong. I have ways I like to do it with my clients, and I'm going to just give you an idea of how this could work for you. So let's start off focusing on, first, let's look at cash management, because this is going to be pretty foundational to having a plan, right? You need to have positive cash flow. There needs to be cash coming into your system. Otherwise, there's nothing to manage. So when it comes to your cash management system, we're talking about liquid cash. This is money that's hiding under your mattress or buried in your backyard. This is money that's sitting in your checking account. This is money in a savings account. And so when it comes to managing cash, we want to, there's a few things that are, you just know you're going to need. And one of them is going to be an emergency savings account. Now, the reality is there's going to be something in your life that happens that you were not expecting, that you were not planning on, and is going to take a specific amount of money. Sometimes that's a few $1,000s, sometimes that could be tens of thousands of dollars. But if you don't have the liquid funds available for emergencies as they pop up, how do you think that's going to affect the rest of your financial plan? Right? If you don't have enough cash on hand, everything starts to unravel. Cash is going to be the glue that holds everything together. It should be the portion of your plan that gives you confidence to invest additional money. It should give you the ability to enjoy your present life now, but also put money away to your future. So emergency savings is going to be one of the main pillars that you're going to need to have in your life, and you're going to need to define exactly how much is the right amount to have in your emergency savings account. Now, this is very important. You need to have the right amount, because it's kind of like the 3 little bears, where you don't want too little, you don't want too much, you want just the right amount. Too little means you're not going to be able to handle any emergencies that come your way, and it eventually will unravel your entire plan. Too much means that the money sitting in your checking cash accounts is losing its purchasing power or its value to inflation. Because as inflation goes up, let's call it at an average rate of 3% per year. As I record this right now, it's a lot higher than that, but historically 2 to 3% is pretty average. But if you're losing 3% of purchasing power per year on the money that's sitting in your checking account, and you are earning less than 1% on that money as the rate of return, then you are losing purchasing power or value of those dollars every single year. And there's nothing you can really do about it besides taking your money out of your cash accounts and investing it into something that can outpace or at least keep up with inflation. But we need to do it in a way that's balanced, that makes sense for your life, your standard of living, all that stuff. So we need to define how much to keep in the emergency savings account. And the general rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months. So if you are typically spending $5,000 a month, you're going to want $15,000 to $30,000 in your emergency savings account. Now, some people are going to want to hold a lot more than this, maybe 12 months. The pandemic recently showed us that it's not impossible to not have a job for 12 months. So depending on how your risk tolerance and what you're comfortable with, you might be anywhere between 3 and 12 months. But you have to always remember there's an opportunity cost here. The more you hold in cash, the less it's working for you and the less it's growing or outpacing inflation, and the more of your dollars are being eroded by inflation. So when it comes to your cash accounts, emergency saving is just one of them. Typically, I see people with 2 to 3 accounts, and you can have more than 2 or 3 cash accounts, but let's just use 3 as an example. So one would be a checking account. One would be your savings account or your emergency savings account, and one could be like a fun account. Now, your checking account, this is where you're going to receive most of your money. This is where your direct deposit's going to come in, and you're going to pay your typical bills. So you're essentially going to be allocating dollars in your checking account to your needs, right? Food, clothing, shelter. You're probably going to have some for your wants, and you're probably going to have some for, hopefully, your future. Now, needs are going to be just spent out of your checking account, but wants, let's say you really enjoy traveling and you know that you want to travel every single year or multiple times a year. So this is a want. It's not a need, but it's something that's a high priority to you and maybe a non-negotiable. So we're going to make room and space in the budget for you to travel. So in this example, maybe instead of just keeping the money in your checking account, because money in your checking account is easy to spend, you automatically pay it over to a different separate checking account or savings account. Now, we're calling this fun account, but it could be one that's specifically for travel or whatever else that you enjoy. And you decide to send over every single month, let's say $200. So now you know that $200 is going to your travel account every single month. Same thing's going for your savings account, your future account. Let's say you are putting $300 a month because you are working to build your savings account up to a specific level that's going to give you comfort and freedom to do other things with your money. Now, these savings need to be automatic. So you automatically get money coming into your checking account through direct deposit where you don't have to spend any time or energy to receive that cash. Then you automatically take some of that cash and you transfer it over to your fun account for travel, and you transfer it over to your savings account for long-term savings, and you pay your bills on autopilot. So you pay your credit card bill, you pay your rent or your mortgage, you make your needs a automatic payment. So you're not sitting there managing your money. This is going to save you a ton of time, and it's going to allow you to come back to one of the core concepts here is automating the entire plan. Now, this is just with the cash management side. Once you have the cash management side handled, because this is also going to include debt. If you are servicing debt, you're going to need to make your automatic payment towards debt. This is going to be something that you probably need to pay back, and it needs to be automated. So once you are able to live on less than you earn, you are able to have a positive savings ratio. Think back to our previous training, and you are building up an emergency savings account. You're putting dollars aside for fun purchases that allow you to enjoy your life now because tomorrow is not promised, but you're not being completely irresponsible, and you're able to build up dollars for your future self. Like paying your future self is a big, concept or belief in my world with my firm. And I think with anybody who's making smart money decisions, there needs to be some dollars set aside for your future self, because as we talked about before, there's never going to be a time in your life where you don't have a need for income, and you probably don't want to work for your entire life. So having dollars set aside for your future self so you don't have to work for your entire life is a smart money decision. Now, once the cash management portion of your plan is on lock, it's dialed in, and it's running smoothly, you're going to want to shift your attention to your wealth management portion. And that's just going to operate very similarly. Now, when it comes to wealth management, there could be a ton of different goals that you're trying to achieve. Some of these could be major, let's say a home purchase goal, which is often. Maybe this is start a business or reinvest into a business. This could be ultimately retirement, right? Never having to work again. Now, there's an endless amount of goals that you could have, but you need to be crystal clear on what you're trying to achieve. And then you need to understand what are the various types of accounts that can help you achieve those specific goals. So I'm not going to go over every type of account out there because there's educational accounts, there's custodial accounts, there's health accounts, but the big pillar accounts, I believe, are 1, retirement, and 2, your pre-retirement. So let's call retirement and let's call this pre-retirement. Now, the idea here is that your retirement accounts, typically, you're not allowed to touch them until 59 and a half years old. So essentially 60 years old. Pre-retirement accounts, you can touch them whenever you want. There's no restriction around it. It is completely accessible to you, but you're going to give up some of the tax benefits. So when we think about retirement and we think about pre-retirement, I'm breaking it into two separate buckets. One, pre-retirement, this is focusing on anything that is going to be a financial need for you that's happening before the age 59 and a half. So if you want to buy a house, if you want to retire early, if you want to send your children to college, then having dollars invested into a pre-retirement account, also known as a brokerage account or a taxable account, is going to allow you to have money growing, keeping up or outpacing inflation, so you don't just have to hold it in cash. It's going to allow you to not rob your own retirement account when you have a need for money that is before retirement age. And it's going to allow you to really have a holistic approach to building wealth and financial planning in general. So the same thing is going to happen with your wealth management cornerstone or with your wealth management section of your plan as it did in the cash management, where you are automatically going to be putting a certain amount of dollars, just like you're putting a certain amount of dollars to your cash management, you're going to be putting a certain amount of dollars to your wealth management. And these dollars could very easily be split between your pre-retirement and your retirement goals, right? Or your retirement buckets. Now, when we talk about these various buckets, I want you to think of it as like the housing to your investments. Now, when we're putting money into, let's say, your retirement account, it could hold stocks, it could hold real estate, it could hold bonds, it could hold pretty much any type of investment out there with very limited restrictions. But the way it is taxed is going to be the big difference. So think about it like a house where you are putting something in the front door of the house. Now, depending on what type of account that is, it's either going to be taxed as it's going in, or it's not going to be taxed as it's going in. It's going to grow in the house tax-free, and then when you pull the money out, it's going to either be taxed to you as earned income, it's going to be taxed to you as capital gains, or it's going to be not taxed at all or tax-free, which is our favorite. So you need to understand the various types of accounts. This could be IRAs, SEP IRAs, solo 401ks, 403bs, TSPs. The list goes on and on. There's tons of different retirement accounts out there, and they all have slightly different rules and nuances that you don't need to understand right now, but you need to understand that retirement accounts are specific for after the age of 59 and a half for the most part, and they are tax advantaged. They either can grow tax deferred or they can grow tax free, and they're very powerful, and you can hold whatever type of investment in these accounts you want for the most part. It's more of an idea of how they are taxed. So often people come to me and they're like, Ethan, should I start an IRA? And you're like, well, a retirement account should be good, but what they're asking is like, should I buy maybe XYZ investment in my IRA? And they're thinking the IRA is the investment itself, when the IRA, the individual retirement account, is simply the vehicle to hold the investment. I hope that makes sense for you guys, because I'm going to move on to the pre-retirement account now. Now, the pre-retirement account is just like the retirement account in the sense that it can hold whatever type of investment you want. The biggest difference is it's not necessarily tax advantage. The money that goes into that account is going to be dollars that have already been taxed. And when you pull those dollars out, you're going to be taxed on the money that has been made in that account. Now, if you put in $100 and it makes zero money and you pull $100 out, there's not going to be a taxable event. But if you put in $100 and it makes you $10 and you pull $110 out, you're going to be taxed on that gain. That $10 gain is going to be taxed at either your income rate or long-term capital's gain rate, depending on how long you held it in that account for. In this specific account, you can hold stocks, bonds, real estate, pooled investments, ETFs, index funds. There's a whole laundry list of investments that you can hold. But the point here isn't to go dive into the details of what specific investment to hold. It is to understand that they're each playing very significant roles in your life in a different capacity. That pre-retirement account is used for prior to age 59 and a half, giving you access to funds so you don't have to rob your retirement account if you need money. And your retirement account is being used for age 59 and a half and later, and is going to give you tax advantages. Now, a lot of people, they don't want to put their money into a retirement account because they don't want to tie it up for a really long period of time, which makes sense, but you need to understand, again, your goals. If you're going to need, like me, if I knew I was going to start a business 10 years before I started a business. So I put more money into my pre-retirement account. So I had funds available when I wanted to start a business because that was going to be pre-retirement age. Now, this didn't mean I don't fund my retirement account. This just means that I don't put as much. I put a concentration in my pre-retirement account. Now, other people may be in their dream jobs, or they may already be, working and generating income, and they have no need for a lump sum of money or financial resources available to them for a very long period of time. So maybe they're going to want to focus more on the retirement accounts, because there's, again, never going to be a time in your life where you don't have a need for income. So whether you don't want to give access up to your money or not, you're going to need income after the age of 59 and a half. So it makes sense to fund both, right? A lot of times people are like, well, Ethan, I rather invest in myself, or I rather invest in this account, or I rather do all these other things. My belief, and I think the truth is that you need to do both, which is why I'm talking about having a system and not just doing an IRA. A lot of times people come in, I've been told I should just open up an IRA account. Well, yeah, an IRA account is good and it's part of the entire system, but it needs to be aligned with your goals. It needs to make sense for your cash flow. It all needs to play together well. And we don't understand how that works until we understand more about you, where you're at, what you're trying to achieve, your risk tolerance, your financial literacy, your understanding how comfortable you are with this stuff. And so what I'm preaching to you is having a system where you actually think through these decisions, you identify the accounts that you need, you identify the investment strategy that makes sense for you, and then you implement it in a way that's accurate, is actually what you want, and then you follow the plan. So we're talking about having a system and not one specific piece or component within the system. Now, the next piece of the system is risk management. Now, risk management is ideally protecting you and your loved ones from the biggest financial threats that you will face, hands down, which is usually death, disability, or some type of health issue, right? And there could be some liability things in here, but in general, death, disability, and health, these are the biggest financial threats that could rock your world and your family's world and just really uproot everything that you've worked so hard to achieve. So when it comes to death, a lot of times this is addressed with life insurance. When it comes to disability, this is addressed with disability insurance, right? So if you can't generate a specific amount of income, then the disability policy kicks in and pays you income, because there's never going to be a time in your life where you don't need income, right? So you can put food on the table, pay your bills, and survive while you figure your situation out, while you heal, while you get better. Life, right, is one of the more selfless things when it comes to your financial plan, and it's understanding who else is relying on you for financial resources, how they're relying on you, and if it's important to you to help them either not have to, live, live in a mortgage-free home, send kids to college, or replace a specific amount of income that you, as the person who's maybe bringing in the income, is providing for your kids or your spouse. Now, if you don't have kids or a spouse, maybe it's not important, or maybe it is important because one day you want it. And again, this is getting into the weeds. This is all about, you want to think through these decisions so you can come up with your plan, implement it, and be good to go, ideally before there's a problem, right? You can't, in this example, you can't buy life insurance after you die, right? So it's something that you need to get beforehand, when you don't actually need it, or when it's not going to be useful to you right away. And this is going to bring us back to some core principles here. It's about being proactive instead of reactive. Same with disability. You are not going to be able to, throw out your back at work and then go out and buy a disability policy and have it pay out. You need to have the policy in place beforehand. And last but definitely not least is health, right? Health insurance is actually legally required because the government understands how big of a burden this can be if you don't have some type of way to transfer that risk in your life. And a lot of times the best way to do that is transferring it to a institution that pools up everybody's risk and spreads that risk out over a ton of different people, so you don't have to burden all that risk yourself. This is essentially how insurance works in general. So this is going to be the system where you have money going to cash management, wealth management, risk management, and as you develop your plan, you're going to add things into your like estate planning, maybe charitable giving, and this can get more complex and complicated. But I want to give you just the overview and understanding of like the system that needs to come into play so you can save money, build wealth, and ultimately achieve your financial freedom. So if this makes sense to you, where you receive an income and then you allocate your additional dollars, the thing that's coming from your savings rate, money that doesn't necessarily have a purpose and is left over after typical spending, and you allocate it towards your cash management, wealth management, and risk management cornerstones in a way that is automatic, automated, and going to the various accounts, policies that are going to support the things in your life that are most important to you. Now, I hope this makes a lot of sense to you guys and gives you a little bit more clarity and understanding into what I mean when I say having a clear, simple, and automated money management system. It is simply spending time and energy upfront to think through the goals that are important to you, and then creating the automation using people, software, and processes to automatically move yourself closer to these specific goals using the right types of accounts, whether they're brokerage accounts, pre-retirement accounts, money market accounts, savings accounts, checking accounts, using the right type of policies, risk management policies, life, disability, health, so you can sleep well at night and you can spend your freed up bandwidth, time, energy on the things that are most important in your guys' life. So thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate your attention as always, and I look forward to catching you in the next video.